the illusion of safety. They didn't storm in like a villain. There was no warning, no explosion, no red flags flapping loudly in the wind. At first, it felt like care. They checked in on you. They noticed things others missed. They asked how you were feeling, what you needed, what made you anxious. And at first, it felt good. It felt safe. They were thoughtful. So thoughtful it felt like you had finally met someone who saw you. Someone who paid attention, who read between the lines, who remembered the things that mattered to you. You told yourself, this is what love is supposed to feel like. You didn't know it yet, but it wasn't love. It was surveillance disguised as interest. It was control wrapped in care. And you were about to find yourself in a quiet kind of captivity, the beginning of the trap. Covert narcissists don't come at you with grandiosity at first. They study you, mirror you, match your softness, your sensitivity, your dreams. They identify the things you've always longed to receive and offer them temporarily. They appeal to your empathy, your trauma, your goodness. Because you are the kind of person who sees potential. You give chances. You believe in people. And they know that. So, they present themselves as wounded, vulnerable, in need of someone different. And because you are different, you open the door, not realizing that this door is one they will try to walk through with muddy feet. While calling it love, you didn't fall for their charm. You fell for their brokenness. You fell for their effort, the way they initially made it look like. They wanted to heal, grow, connect, and they let you believe that. Because a covert narcissist doesn't seduce with arrogance. They seduce with sincerity, the subtle shift. At first, the care is overwhelming. The late-night texts, the long talks, the listening, the way they validate your pain. But slowly, it begins to shift. Not all at once, not in a way you can even name, but subtly. Their concern becomes persistent, then intrusive, then accusatory. They start saying things like, "Why didn't you tell me you were going out? I just worry about you. That's all. I'm only asking because I care." You feel confused. It still sounds like care, but now it feels tight, restrictive, like walking on eggshells in a room they swore was a sanctuary. How control wears the mask of protection. They'll position themselves as your protector, the one who sees what no one else sees, who knows what's best for you. They may say, "I just think your friends don't appreciate you. You always seem drained after seeing your family. I'm the only one who really gets you." And on the surface, those may even sound supportive. But underneath, they're isolating you, fracturing your support system, rewriting your reality slowly, until theirs becomes the only one that counts. They create a world where their opinion becomes your compass, where their approval feels like oxygen, and any form of independence from you is reinterpreted as disloyalty. You start to second-guess yourself. You shrink your world to fit inside theirs. You stop doing things you love because they make little comments. Not directly critical, just enough to make you feel like you're somehow wrong for wanting your own life. That's the thing with covert narcissism. It doesn't dominate. It manipulates. It redefines your instincts until you are the one apologizing for breathing, for dreaming, for needing space. The chosen ones, why they're targeted. You were not weak. You were strong. That's exactly why they picked you. People think narcissists are drawn to the fragile, but the truth is, they're drawn to the radiant, to those with inner light, with depth, with an unusual emotional intelligence. They're drawn to the chosen ones, the ones who have the power to deeply feel, and just as deeply heal, because that's the threat, that you might see through them, that you might one day stop shrinking to make them feel bigger. So what do? They start early. They create dependency masked as intimacy. They offer what you never got, so they can later withhold it to control you. They make you the caregiver, the therapist, the fixer, not because they need your help, but because if they keep you busy trying to save them, you'll never realize you need to save yourself. The breaking point is not always loud. You didn't leave because of one big fight or one undeniable moment of cruelty. You stayed because there were so many half-truths, so many moments that almost looked like love, so many, "I'm sorry, I just care too much" confessions. But the body knows what the mind tries to deny. You began to feel tired, heavy, anxious in their presence, like you couldn't relax, like your nervous system was always bracing for the next emotional twist. Because covert narcissists don't break you all at once. They wear you down. They bury your truth beneath layers of gaslighting disguised as affection until you can barely remember what your life felt like before them. The realization that frees you. One day, you stop asking if it was love. You stop trying to make sense of the contradictions, and you finally see it. It wasn't love. It was ownership. It was surveillance. It was emotional colonization dressed up as concern. And with that realization, your spirit begins to rise again. Slowly, delicately, but unmistakably, you begin to reclaim your inner compass. You stop apologizing for taking up space. You remember that love does not require you to become smaller. And from that moment on, you are no longer theirs to manipulate. But healing from covert narcissistic control isn't as simple as walking away, because the damage isn't just in what they did to you. It's in what they trained you to do to yourself. The internal war after it ends. You walked away, but their voice still echoes inside you. And not in the way you might think. Not like a ghost haunting the past, but like a program, still running silently in the background of your mind. Because covert narcissists don't just hurt you with what they say. They train you to think a certain way. They install doubts, guilt, loops. They leave behind a version of you that keeps their narrative alive long after they're gone. And that's why the hardest part isn't leaving. It's reclaiming yourself after you do. The guilt that shouldn't be yours. You know what's strange? You may feel guilty for leaving someone who hurt you. You may feel like you abandoned them, like you were too much, too sensitive, too impatient. Why? Because that's what they conditioned you to believe. They never directly told you. You are the problem. But their reactions, their moods, their silence, their emotional withdrawal when you needed connection, all pointed to one conclusion. You're too much, and I'm pulling away because of you. So over time, your brain made an adjustment. You started believing, maybe if I were different, they'd love me better. That thought alone is the damage, because it rewrites the truth. It makes you the one responsible for fixing a dynamic that was built on control. But here's the thing. You never asked for perfection. You asked for presence. You asked for honesty. You asked for emotional safety. And they couldn't offer that. Not because of who you are, but because of who they refused to become. The addiction to the almost. One of the most confusing things that happens after leaving a covert narcissist is the longing, the craving, the urge to go back even when you know it was toxic. But what you're addicted to is not the pain. It's the almost healing, the almost connection, the almost love, the tiny glimpses of potential they gave you just often enough to keep you hooked, to keep you fighting, to keep you believing. If I just hold on a little longer, this could work. You weren't weak for believing that. You were human. You were hopeful. And they fed that hope just enough to use it against you. And now, that hope still lingers. Because your nervous system hasn't caught up with your consciousness. Your nervous system doesn't lie, even though your mind has left. Your body still responds like you're in the relationship. That tension in your chest, that anxiety when your phone lights up, that urge to explain yourself, even when no one is asking. That's trauma residue. That's what covert manipulation does. It hijacks the body. It teaches it to fear disconnection, even when that disconnection is freedom. So when you feel panic, grief, or confusion after leaving, you're not going backwards. You're detoxing. It's not weakness. It's recovery. It's your nervous system finally unlearning that love doesn't have to feel like survival. Why they don't let you go easily. Covert narcissists rarely accept your departure in silence. They may not beg. They may not scream. But they reappear. They test the waters. They might send a vague message, just enough to stir something in you. Or worse, they play the victim. They make others think you abandoned them without cause. They rewrite the story so they remain the wounded one. And you become the heartless one who just walked away. Why? Because the narcissist needs control, even after you're gone. And if they can't control your presence, they'll try to control your reputation, your peace, your narrative. They'll linger in the minds of others. Because losing you is not just painful to them, it's humiliating. You saw behind the mask, and they cannot forgive you for that. The most dangerous lie you must unlearn. Here's the lie they leave you with. No one else will love you like I did. And that statement? It's true, but not in the way they mean it. No one else will confuse possession with love. No one else will dress control and concern. No one else will manipulate you through praise, withdrawal, and guilt, and still call it affection. What they gave you wasn't love. It was conditional tolerance, built on whether or not you made them feel powerful. Real love does not punish. It does not isolate. It does not make you feel like a burden for simply having emotions. So yes, no one else will love you like they did. And thank God for that. You're not broken. You were trained. Right now, you may still feel off-center, still questioning your worth, still wondering why you stayed so long, or why it hurt so deeply. But hear this, you're not broken. You were trained to prioritize someone else's comfort over your own clarity, trained to call fear love, trained to feel responsible for other people's dysfunction. But that training is not your truth. Because despite everything, you woke up, you left, or maybe you're just starting to. Either way, you're seeing clearly now, and no one can take that from you. But seeing the truth is only part of the journey. The next step is learning how to protect it, how to trust yourself again, how to rebuild an inner world that doesn't shrink under doubt. The return to self and how real love will look different now. You've seen behind the curtain. You've walked through the fire. And now, you stand at the edge of something most people never reach. A life where your peace is no longer up for negotiation, where your worth isn't decided by how useful you are to someone else, where love doesn't drain you, manipulate you, or make you prove yourself. But the journey to that place starts with one powerful shift. You stop looking for someone to save you and start choosing only those who meet you, where you already saved yourself. When love no longer looks like chaos. After being with a covert narcissist, healthy love can feel boring at first because it lacks the drama, the guessing, the chase. You're used to uncertainty, to decoding moods, to chasing breadcrumbs of affection. But now, someone shows up with calm, with clarity, with honesty, and your nervous system doesn't quite know what to do. You might even mistake it for disinterest, because you've been conditioned to confuse love with emotional hunger. But real love doesn't starve you. It doesn't spike your adrenaline. It soothes your spirit. It says, you don't have to earn this. You just have to be here as you are. And that kind of love, it won't demand you shrink. It will expand with you. How to spot covert control before it starts again. You've learned the hard way that control doesn't always look like domination. It looks like subtle guilt when you set boundaries. I'm just worried about you when you try to grow. Withdrawal when you speak your truth. Praise that feels a little too tied to performance. The covert narcissist doesn't scream. They suggest. They imply. They frame everything as for your own good. But underneath it all is fear. Fear of your freedom. Fear of your power. Fear that if you fully become who you're meant to be, you'll see just how small they've kept you. So now, you no longer look for big red flags. You pay attention to the micro behaviors. How do they respond when you're proud of yourself? Do they celebrate your wins? Or seem threatened by them? Do they honor your no? Or do they try to make you feel bad for needing space? Those subtle cues are no longer invisible, because now you're awake. The new standard, love that doesn't need to possess you. You're not here to be someone's emotional caretaker. You're not a rehab center for broken egos. You're not a mirror for someone to see only the best parts of themselves. You're a whole person with needs, desires, a path. And from now on, love must respect that. The kind of love you're moving toward now doesn't fear your growth. It welcomes it, doesn't punish you with silence. It talks through the hard things, doesn't idealize you, only to later devalue you. It sees your humanity and stays. This kind of love doesn't ask you to forget who you are. It reminds you. And when that shows up, you'll feel it in your body. Not a rush, not anxiety, not intensity, but ease, clarity, warmth, safety. And this time, you won't sabotage it because you know what it's not. And you finally know what it is. You've already won. The hardest battle wasn't the relationship. It was what came after. It was learning to trust your gut again, to let yourself rest, to believe that peace isn't boring, it's sacred. You broke a cycle that many never even see. You stopped the lineage of silent suffering. And you said, not this time, not with me. That's power. That's healing. That's freedom. You don't need to prove anything anymore. Not to them, not to anyone. The fact that you're still standing, with your heart open, with your mind clear, with your soul intact, is everything they tried to take and failed. If this message spoke to something deep in you, don't keep it to yourself. There's someone out there, just like you once were, still trapped in the illusion of love that hurts more than it heals. Share this with them. Be the hand that reaches into the fog. And if you're still healing, still rebuilding, still learning to love yourself after the storm, you are not behind. You are not late. You are walking the bravest path there is, the path back to your own truth. And that truth will never again be silenced.